رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإن الله تعالى مع المتقين. وبعد, a topic which has been discussed many times over, but one which is important to remind ourselves of, and one which is integral to the deen of Islam, the deen of the Anbiya, that which was sent to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and followed by those who came before us, who were from those who were successful, those who traversed the straight path. There was a quality, or there is a quality about the believer, and one which is often overlooked, unfortunately, especially by those who study the sacred deen of Islam and its sacred sciences, and that is the quality of character. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said, I was sent to complete good character. I was sent to complete good character, meaning the mission of the Prophet ﷺ was completion of good character. And good character, of course, can be defined by that which is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. And that which is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal is that which the Prophet ﷺ came with. And we have an example that has been mentioned so many times, but it's so significant that we should be reminded of it over and over again. When the Prophet ﷺ received revelation, when the Prophet ﷺ first met Jibreel ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ returned to Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, and he said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, laqad khashitu ala nafsi. Or kama qal, he said, cover me, I fear for myself. And Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, having heard what has taken place, the Prophet ﷺ telling his wife, informing his wife that he has been met by a stranger in a mountain, and this stranger grappled with him or hugged him so tightly that he felt he was going to suffer unconsciousness, and that this stranger came with verses, and this stranger was informing him that he was to receive revelation, etc. Khadija radiallahu anha, she believed him immediately. And what did she say? She said, Kalla, فَوَاللَّهِ لَا يُخْزِيكَ اللَّهُ أَبَدًا وَاللَّهِ إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ وَتَسْتُقُ الْحَدِيثَ, and so on and so forth. Khadija, she said, by Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. Don't fear for yourself, Allah will never disgrace you. Meaning, she believed in the message that the Prophet ﷺ had received. She believed he was a messenger. Why? She stated his character. His character. Those who entered into Islam from the first of the Muslims, the believers, those who were close to the Prophet ﷺ. And what did they know about the Prophet ﷺ? His character. The likes of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and so on and so forth. Character of the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He informs us about the Prophet ﷺ, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلَقٍ عَظِيمٍ, and you are upon great character. And you are upon great character. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said about the Prophet ﷺ, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His character was an embodiment of the Quran. An embodiment of the Quran. This is what deen is. Deen is character. Character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we'll look at it, gratitude. It's enough that you are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill the obligations of the deen of Allah. If you have shukr in your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that which He has given you, that is sufficient enough for you to worship Him until death comes. Because it's character. And character with the creation. And this has been laid out in the framework of Al-Islam. It's been laid out. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in a hadith, which is, you can say the answer to a question, how can I be upright? How can I be an upright Muslim? And it has been said, how many times from this minbar? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, اتق الله حيث ما كنت وأتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحها وخالق الناس بخلق حسن. 3 core elements. Have consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jal wherever you are, privately or publicly. That's the first component of taqwa. If we would like to be righteous, the first component is what? To be God conscious, to have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be aware that He is aware of us at all times, whether publicly or privately. The second, if you slip up, follow it up with a good deed. If you commit a sin, follow it up with a good deed. Why? Because the good deed wipes out the remnants of the bad deed and in fact replaces it with ajr on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And the third, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسِ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. And have good character with the people. Have good character with the people. Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that this shows us that khuluq is from istiqamah. Character is from being an upright Muslim. To have good character. And of course, 30 minutes is not enough to go into the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. It is not enough, but there are very important qualities of character which every Muslim should try to adorn himself with. And one of the problems of our version of Islam today, it's not a problem with Islam, it's a problem with our version of Islam today, is that our Islam today is very surface level. It's very shallow. We dip our toes in the waters of Islam and that's it. We suffice ourselves with that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا ادْخُلُوا فِي السِّلْمِ كَافَّةً. O you who believe, enter into Islam كَافَةً. Immerse yourselves into Islam in all of your totality. Immerse every part of yourself into Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses an analogy for His guidance, Sibghat Allah, in response to the baptizing of the Christians. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sibghat Allah, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ سِبْغَةً. The sibgha of Allah, the tanning of Allah, the immersing of a person into the waters of Islam. And who is better than that, than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why? Because Islam should permeate. Islam should permeate. It should not only be seen on the outside, but if a person were to be cut in half, Islam should be on the inside as well as the outside. The deen does not stop on the outside. It's not simply salah and siyam and zakah. No. What is more important than salah? Yes, more important is the character of the believer's heart. Because if the character is upright, if the heart is upright, the salah will be there. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said there is a morsel of flesh in the body. If it's upright, the body will be upright. Meaning, the limbs will follow the heart in uprightness. If someone's heart is upright, you don't need to worry about teaching him how to pray. Why? Because he will seek the methodology of prayer for himself, because his heart is upright. And his righteous heart will lead him to that which is good for him in this life and the next. And if the heart is corrupt, the entire body will be corrupt. The entire body will be corrupt. And what is a righteous heart? What is a heart which is upright? It's a heart that has been adorned with the qualities of righteous character. a nafs which has been adorned with the qualities of righteous character, and a heart which has been stripped of those, not qualities, but characteristics which are blameworthy. Blameworthy characteristics. The heart has been stripped of those things. And we've mentioned how many times, the worst of them, Hubbud dunya, love of this life. There is a weak hadith. Some suggest it's mursal, but the point is, Hubbud dunya, ra'su kulli khati'ah. That love of this life is the head of every sin. Love of this life is the head of every sin. Every sin, you can link it back to love of this dunya. Love of this dunya. And you think about it from a logical perspective, it makes absolute sense. It makes absolute sense. Why? Because it's the pleasures of this life that lead us into sin. It's running after this dunya that leads us into sin. Love of money, love of the opposite gender, love of fame, love of status, all of it. Miserliness, where does it come from? It comes from love of this life. Fornication, lying, stealing, all of these things, where do they come from? Love of this life. Seeking fame and status, where do they come from? Love of this life. Murder, where does it come from? Love of this life. And so the first characteristic that needs to be ripped from the heart, not stripped, ripped from the heart, is love of dunya. Love of dunya. But to go back, the heart, character, this is what Islam is. And all of the ritual acts of Islam are supposed to be working on the heart. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Prayer prevents a person from wicked and illicit behavior. Why? The prayer does not pop up itself. Salah does not pop up and say, do not do this. No, because the prayer is working on the heart. The prayer is supposed to be working on the heart. Supposed to be attaching a person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zakah, it removes bukhul from a person's heart. It removes miserliness and stinginess from a person's heart. They can spend on others and they don't feel any pain. Siyam, fasting, the ability to say no to the self, the ability not to follow desire when the pangs of desire are strong. All of the ritual acts of Islam, they lead to purification and rectification of the heart. And the first door that is opened when a person enters into Islam is what? Liberation of the heart from everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is ash-shahada? What is ash-shahada? The testimony of faith. To say La ilaha illallah is to say there is nothing worthy of worship. But what does worship here mean? I do not ascribe partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my needs. When seeking strength, when I am weak, when it comes to the qadar, I understand that Allah is in control. All of these things, that's the first quality of the heart which we adorn ourselves with. Liberation of the heart from everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so to go back to the point, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent to complete good character. And what's amazing is that the Prophet ﷺ, his character was the first point of reference for those who found Islam during his lifetime, for many. And his character was known prior to revelation, as-sadiq al-amin, and so on and so forth. Today, we find people are coming to Islam through individuals that do not have the greatest of character. We have young individuals finding Islam through Muslim gangsters, through Muslim crooks, through Muslim liars. Imagine if we were to adorn ourselves with the actual character of Islam. The people would find Islam very easily. The people would come to Islam very easily, especially in this day and age where people are lonely, people are suffering, people are struggling, people are looking for guidance. They're looking for guidance. We simply have to wear the guidance on our backs, the character of the Prophet ﷺ. Let people see what Islam looks like. If people can see it, people will find it, but we're keeping it to ourselves. And an example of this, the Prophet ﷺ, as we know very well, and we say it often, he said a person does not have complete iman until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. And so I, as a Muslim, should treat my brother in Islam the way that I would like to be treated. If we ask ourselves, are we actually implementing this hadith today? We will find for many of us the answer is no. Let's go a bit further. The Prophet ﷺ, he was sent to the Muslims alone? No. He was sent rahmatan lil alameen, as a form of mercy to mankind. You have Muslims selling alcohol to non-Muslims. Is that rahmah? Is that rahmah? Muslims selling alcohol to non-Muslims. As a Muslim, I wouldn't drink the alcohol myself, but I'm willing to sell it to a non-Muslim. And my excuse is that they don't follow Islam. You're supposed to be a role model. You're supposed to be a role model. Say the same about the streets. You have Muslims that are selling drugs to non-Muslims. Muslims that are taking advantage of non-Muslims. And so on and so forth. We can speak about it for a long time. The point is, if we were to adorn ourselves with the character of Islam, people will find Islam very easily. And there are two qualities that deserve to be looked at amongst others. But for the short duration of this khutbah, two qualities. The first, ash-shukr, gratitude. Gratitude. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man lam yashkur nas lam yashkur Allah." The one who does not show gratitude to the people does not show gratitude to who? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of the ulama, they say the interpretation of this is the one who does not show gratitude to the people is incapable of showing gratitude to Allah. Why? Because this person has an ungrateful heart. This person has an ungrateful heart. Therefore, he will not recognize the blessings bestowed upon him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, adorning ourselves with this quality of gratitude, and Allah knows best, an ungrateful heart, can we shift it, shape it, so that it becomes grateful? The Prophet ﷺ, he informed us, most of the women that are inhabitants of the hellfire, they will be there for what reason? يَكْفُرْنَ الْعَشِيرِ, because they deny the blessings bestowed upon them through their husbands. They are ungrateful to their husbands. A lack of gratitude. The son of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when Ibrahim visited him and he did not find him there, he found his wife and he started to converse with her. She began to complain about things. Ibrahim instructed his son to find another wife. Why? Because Ibrahim understood this woman, she is an ungrateful woman. She is an ungrateful woman. And the heart being ungrateful does not lead to a person who you can have a good relationship with. And it's not to say only women are ungrateful. No, men are ungrateful too. Men are ungrateful too. But it's an example. It's an example. And how many of us, we complain about our everyday lives? We complain. And we forget how many blessings we have. How many blessings. We're drowning in blessings. And there is another quality which is important, and one which we have to learn, and we have to teach our children, at-tawadu, humility. And there is a hadith which comes to mind. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, يُسَلِّمُ الصَّغِيرُ عَلَى الْكَبِيرِ, when talking about who should say salam to who. From that hadith, يُسَلِّمُ الصَّغِيرُ عَلَى الْكَبِيرِ, the younger one should say salam to the older one. Why? It's respect, humility, to acknowledge that this person is older than me. Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, the Muslim should never look at another person with an eye of considering himself better than that person. He says, if the Muslim sees someone younger than him, this Muslim should say to himself, this person does not have the sins that I have acquired. I have far more sins than this younger person, because they haven't lived on this earth long enough to sin the way that I have sinned. And if a Muslim sees an older person, they should say, this person has been practicing Islam far longer than me. This person has a larger amount of good deeds than I do. And what about the non-Muslim? Imam al-Ghazali, he says that a Muslim, when he sees a non-Muslim, should say, Allah knows best. Perhaps Allah has written for this person guidance tomorrow and my misguidance. Because the only difference between the Muslim and the non-Muslim is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so a Muslim should never look to anyone and consider himself to be better than that person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us, the best of you in His sight is who? Atqakum. The best of you in His sight, atqakum. Those of you who have the most piety and righteousness. And when is it that taqwa is known? As Al-Qurtubi, he says, taqwa is known in the akhirah, not in this dunya. In the akhirah, not in this dunya. Some of those who died as martyrs during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, these people are going to hellfire. The first to be thrown into the hellfire, al-qari, or al-alim, wal-jawad, wal-shaheed. Why? Because of a lack of ikhlas. From the outside, in a variation of a hadith which talks about this issue, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, فِيمَا يَبْدُو لِلنَّاسِ, in that which is apparent to the people, this person is a righteous person, but this person will be the first to go to the hellfire, or from those who enter into the hellfire. Taqwa is known in the next life. So in this life, I have to remain humble. Great gratitude and humility. Gratitude and humility. Gratitude to the people is gratitude to Allah. And humility, those who are older than me, to show them respect. Those who are younger than me, to see them as better than myself. Those who have not yet found Islam, to see myself as a beacon of light for that person, and to understand that Allah may guide this person tomorrow, and may misguide myself tomorrow. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده صلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء ومن تبعه وبعد. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us and instructs us, was sent as a rahmah lil alameen, a mercy to mankind. And we are supposedly a continuation of the Prophet alayhi salatu salam's mission. We as Muslims, we are the flag bearers of Islam. We are the ones who have inherited the mission of Islam from those who have come before us. And our responsibility is a great one. And we are in a position which is very dangerous. Why? Because we are living amongst a majority of non-Muslims. We are living amongst a people that have no guidance. And on Yawm al-Qiyamah, they are going to be questioned. And they may use us. They may use us as a part of their argument. These people had Islam, but they didn't tell us. Ya Rab, these people knew, but they didn't instruct us. They didn't show us. They didn't bring guidance to us. But instead of understanding the purpose that we have here, we're trying to acquire as much of the dunya as we possibly can. And we're running after the dunya in the name of deen. Running after the dunya in the name of deen. Justifying gratification of the self and consumption of these material things that we assume will lead to our happiness with the deen. And so we have to look at ourselves and reflect. And we have to, as the saying goes, fix up. Because this is a grave responsibility, the responsibility of Islam. And the Sahaba, they knew this. The Sahaba, they knew this. And an example to conclude. Of course, not every man, not every woman can follow in the footsteps of the great men and women of Islam of yesterday and today. But we should look to these people as an example. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiallahu ta'ala anhu, from the moment that he took responsibility for the Khilafah until his death, he did not take a shower from intimacy with his wife. Over 2 years, without being intimate with his wife. Why? Because of the gravity of responsibility of Islam and the Khilafah that he took upon himself. And today, we have individuals who have taken upon themselves the responsibility of knowledge, of imamah, of da'wah, of a shaykhukhah, and so on and so forth. And these individuals are running after the dunya and justifying it in the name of deen. Using the deen for gratification of the self. Using the deen to justify that they should have a bit more of the dunya than other people, and so on and so forth. Qurra that are charging people thousands of pounds. Du'at that are marrying women after women after women. Students of knowledge, their only concern is how much they can earn from a lecture. And so before we talk about external entities and parties, we have to look at ourselves. And we have to call a spade a spade. And we have to take accountability and responsibility for our actions. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to complete good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and overlook our sins and make us from the people of good character. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن عثمان وعن علي وعن سائر الصحابة أجمعين. اللهم تب علينا واعف عنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ارزقنا خلق النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام واجعلنا من أتباعه وأتباع الصحابة والتابعين. اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين وفي أنحاء العالم يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم نصرا مؤزرا يا مجيب الدعوات. اللهم قويهم وقوينا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اشف مرضاهم يا مجيب الدعوات وأقم الصلاة.